Welcome this evening to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Town of Silver City for Tuesday, May the 6th, 2025. If I could ask you to be so good as to rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we please do a roll call?
Commissioner Moody?
Present.
Commissioner Bayless?
Present.
Commissioner Middlestaff?
Here.
Chairman Wheaton-Smith?
Present. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
C. Yes.
Any comments?
I move we approve the agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and several seconds. Any discussion at all? Hearing none. Those in favour, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. The agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. There are two sets. The first is for March the 4th of this year, the second for April the 1st. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any corrections or changes? Hearing none?
I motion, sorry, can I do them both?
Absolutely.
I motion that we approve the minutes from the meeting of March 4th, 2025 and April 1st, 2025.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Yes, there's a second. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favour, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. The minutes for March the 4th and April the 1st are passed. Next item on the agenda is reports. Have we any reports from community development?
Not at this time, Chairman.
Okay, and of course later on we get to do reports from the commissioners. Any community input? I am saddened, but I welcome everyone who is here, and I also welcome Juno Ogle from the Daily Press. Thank you very much for being here. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Specifically, it is a conditional use permit hearing for 25-01, a request for a conditional use permit for cannabis retailer class 2 and 3, cannabis manufacturer defined as class 2, a licensee that conducts class 1 activities and manufactures edible products or topical products using infusion processes or other types of cannabis products other than extracts or concentrates, and does not conduct extractions. And class 3, a licensee that conducts class 1 and class 2 activities and extracts using mechanical methods or non-volatile solvents. For the property addressed as 101 West College Avenue, Silver City, New Mexico. This use is allowed in the commercial historic zoning district with a conditional use permit. The applicant is Yolanda Quintana, represented by Anthony Quintana, Buffalo Bud Farming Co. LLC. Since that's a rather long description for the public hearing, having read it in full, it can be abbreviated during questions or motions to public hearing CU 25-01 unless anyone objects. Hearing none. Has any commissioner had any ex parte discussions, or does any commissioner have any financial or other interests in this particular case or the business in question?
No.
No.
Okay, and no here. We have 4 commissioners voting no, therefore we can proceed. We also have a quorum. This is a conditional use quasi-judicial process, and I will explain that. A conditional use is a request for a permit that's authorized in the Land Use and Zoning Code, and there are 4 findings that have to be found. So we will proceed and do various things, talk about it. But this is also a quasi-judicial process, which means we do follow fairly rigid rules. It's a bit more flexible than district court, but we will follow rules about how we look at facts that we hear and ask questions. This is run under Robert's Rules of Order, which means that questions and answers should be directed through the chair. And the next item is I must now swear in anyone who wishes to speak or testify. And that would include the Community Development Director, the applicant, and any citizens or anyone else who wishes to speak. And if you'd be so good as to raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Anthony Quintana,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that the testimony I will give
that the testimony that I will give
before this commission in this hearing
before this commission in this hearing
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
under penalty of perjury.
under penalty of perjury.
And if I could ask those who have been sworn in to sign the log. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is that staff will present a staff report, which may include recommendations.
Thank you, Chairman. Request CU 25, a request for a conditional use permit for cannabis retailer, Class 2 and 3 cannabis manufacturer for the property addressed as 101 West College Street, Silver City, New Mexico. This use is allowed in the Commercial Historic Zoning District with conditional use permit. Cannabis retailer is defined in Section 3.3.1H1I as a person that sells cannabis products to qualified patients, primary caregivers, or reciprocal participants, or directly to consumers. And Class 2 manufacturer is defined in Section 3.3.1H1D2 as a licensee that conducts Class 1 activities and manufactures edible products or topical products using infusion processes or other types of cannabis products other than extracts or concentrates and does not conduct extractions. Cannabis Class 3 manufacturer, defined in Section 3.3.1H1D3, a licensee that conducts Class 1 and Class 2 activities and extracts using mechanical methods or non-volatile solvents. Mrs. Quintana submitted a conditional use application to the Community Development Department on March 5th, 2025. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to sell cannabis, manufacture cannabis edibles, and manufacture cannabis solventless extracts. If the conditional use permit is granted, all applicable standards of Section 3.3.1H of the town's Land Use and Zoning Code of 2010 shall apply. After a departmental review of the application, the Code Enforcement, Police, Utilities, Public Works, Meters, and Engineering divisions had no comment. The Fire Department, via communication from the Fire Marshal, stated the property is scheduled for its annual inspection in July of 2025. As required by Section 6.2.11 of the Land Use Code of 2010, the Community Development Department contacted 23 landowners identified by Grant County Assessor's parcel data by U.S. mail within 300 feet of the project area. Of the 23 landowners notified, 2 letters were returned as attempted, unable to forward. No responses were received from the identified property owner regarding the proposal to the department. The findings. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall apply or make relevant all 4 of the findings to the request at hand. 1, it will not endanger public health or safety. 2, it will not injure the value of adjoining or nearby properties. 3, it will be in harmony for the area of which it is located. And 4, will be in conformity with the town's comprehensive plan or other plans officially adopted by the town. The Community Development Department staff recommends this request be approved as it meets all 4 findings as required.
And does that complete your case in chief?
Yes, Chairman.
It does. The next item will be the applicant presenting their case, and if you could address those 4 findings, that would be most helpful. Thank you, sir.
How y'all doing? Thanks for having me. My name is Ronald Anthony Quintana. I'm a coordinator with Buffalo Bud Farming Company, LLC. We are a fully integrated cannabis company that has been here in Grant County and Silver City for the last 3 years since it went rec. As far as the findings, the community endangerment or like being a safe place there where we're going to be located, we're currently located in a property right next to it. So we've never had any citations, we've never had any occurrences, we've never had anything with any guests, with anybody, our neighbors, or just people that were going to our establishment. So as far as that, I mean, we run things right, and we do stuff correct, and we do things legally, and we just try to actually better, you know what I mean, the community and offer work. As value is injuring or degrading any value or property value, I don't think that it will do that, as it is a up and coming industry that we have proven that we are doing, again, a correct job. And I think that it would add to the property value, as it's just what's moving forward in like the industry as far as what's going on in New Mexico right now. So I think that I just don't find it that it would risk of any devalue. Obviously, we're right next door. And harmony of what's going on there, I think that it'd be a great addition to the food co-op that's going in next door, the Midship that's going in right across the street. We're not going to be taking away the restaurant as far as Mix 33 is concerned. That will still be there, and the space of what we're using it for, it was traditionally, before we had got it, before it was even the brewery, it was a retail store when it was the Iron Horse, and then before that, I don't know exactly what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was used as retail. And I think that it would just be a good fit for that corner and what it's kind of developing into. And it's, again, the town use plan, I think that it would go in harmony and as well as the same thing that I just stated before with everything else that is going on down there. And we work with the town and all that stuff, and I work with Alex Brown and Jackie and everybody for, you know what I mean, a while now. And any recommendations, any comments, anything, we're always open to. Any questions, we're always open to answer, you know. So really, I just think that it's a good location, and especially we need to expand because our current location is very, very, very small. It's 450 square feet of retail space that we're currently in, and we could fit about 2 or 3 people in there at a time. So anytime we get more than that in there, it's almost like we're turning away business because there's certain customers and guests that want a little bit more space, and we're trying to provide kind of something different that the town currently doesn't have, which is a bigger space and a shopping experience for the cannabis industry with a more variety of products as well.
And thank you. Does that conclude your case in chief?
Yeah, unless you all want to ask me some questions that I can answer, if it has to do with any of the manufacturing questions or any of the retail questions, or even if what we're going to be using the property that it's currently in for and stuff like that, I could explain that a little bit more as well.
In which case, obviously, we open it up to commissioners And I would remind everyone that questions do have to be relevant to the application at hand. Who would like to ask questions first?
Mr. Quintana, I'm looking at your map, and forgive me for being kind of dimensionally illiterate, but there's a gold dotted line. What is that on there? Is that the property?
Give me 1 second, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So the gold dotted line is currently what is mixed. So that's just showing the mixed property
Oh, okay.
of what that is. And
Okay.
then everything else that is not in the gold dotted line would be what it would be used for the dispensary itself.
Okay, good. Thank
Other
you.
than where it says food truck and then outdoor patio, where there will not be any cannabis. And we will be working with alcohol and gaming to see if they will allow us to either A, keep the license that we have there now on the patio, with our liquor license, but even at that, there will be no alcohol allowed inside or cannabis allowed into the mix area and vice versa. So it's just one of those things. I mean, the property that we're in right next door right now doesn't have any issues, you know what I mean, with that, where someone could walk out of mix and go into the dispensary next door with a drink. It's never happened. We have really strict policies as far as how we handle those type of situations and stuff like that. I'm getting into something that's not necessarily what you asked, but just because I know that it is gonna be a concern with that. But yeah, that's what the dotted line is for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for clarifying it.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Middlestead?
Is this location of the food truck accurate? Because I was,
No, I actually changed that. So I was gonna initially put the food truck in where the patio is, but I put it on next to our patio on the other side. And the only reason why is because I wanted to save that space in case we wanted to have a band or a DJ or some type of entertainment, or like for example, when there's the Christmas light parade or the 4th of July parade or something like that. That way we could put seating out there, and that way people could still go there, sit there, enjoy a soft drink, or if the alcohol and gaming allows us to somehow keep our license there, just a little, it needs to be enclosed. So I put the food truck on the other side.
and will you have a separate entrance then
For
for
the,
the patio?
Yes, there already
You won't go
is.
through anymore.
it's gonna be, so if you saw the way that we had our enclosed patio before,
Yeah.
there was those 2 open areas
Yeah.
that you could just walk straight through.
Yeah.
We put, like wrought iron fencing, and then we got corrugated steel, and I'm still working on varnishing that to make it look a little bit older and not so bright, so it looks a little bit more rustic.
Yeah.
And to match with the town, but that one gate will be the main entrance to get into the patio. So it's gonna have its own separate entrance, and exit, and then we will have security inside of the retail store at the entrance in the patio, just so that way that we don't allow any minors. And we deal with that now. I mean, in the retail space, you know, there's guests that come in and they have their kids and they want to bring them in, and we tell them, sorry, you can't. So that's why we really put those picnic tables in the front, and that way they could sit there and their kids could wait, you know what I mean, there. And that's why we want to have that patio over there, so that way people can still grab some food, have lunch, be in an area where there's no cannabis allowed, and it's still like, there's not gonna be any smoking. So we're keeping the consumption lounge where it's gonna be, because I personally don't wanna have people smoking right there off the street
Okay,
as of right now.
so the Buffalo Bud that exists now, is that gonna still exist too?
Yes, we're gonna be using that for manufacturing. So like because we grow currently right now, because we're also a producer and a farm, that's what we are. I'm gonna be using that for more of the trimming, curing, doing pre-rolls, making like a lot of the pre-manufactured stuff that comes from flour.
Okay.
Whereas the former kitchen of what used to be Q's, we are gonna use that for making edibles like gummies, candies, lollipops. There's a lot of
How do you move between the two?
What do you
Is
mean?
there- Do you have to go outside, or is there?
Yeah. So I would have to send manifest from one location to
That's
the
what I was
other.
wondering, yeah.
Yeah, I would have to send one manifest with the other one. It'd be still the same thing. We're not gonna be carrying bags of whatever the product is out in the open. It needs to be in closed totes, you know what I mean? And that way it's, our number one concern is the safety for
Yeah.
our team. So I don't want them either going and carrying stuff because you just never know.
Yeah.
And that's the way that we're gonna be doing a lot of the stuff. So it'd just be through the front door. It's not connected, it's separate properties.
Okay,
Yeah. And there will be no cannabis, and from here, there's no access into Mix besides that additional patio door that we built, like when you're walking down to go into Mix, there's the little corridor. There's that one door there, but that's gonna be locked, and it will only be, it's a push door. And it will be locked and be used for emergency exit only. There'll be no way for guests to be coming in from Mix through that door. They'll have to go through the front door.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Moody.
I have one question, which you probably have covered, and that is that the mix kitchen is then totally separate from
Yeah,
what
there's two
Q's
separate.
kitchen was.
Yeah, so it's always, I think, it's funny because people always thought that it all came from one kitchen.
Yes,
It's basically in essence, two separate restaurants or facilities. So it has two kitchens, two hoods, two walk-ins, two dish areas, and all that stuff. So, yeah, there's not gonna be any crossing of any type of material, different equipment, different everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it still will be an operating restaurant?
Mix will.
Makes sense.
Yes, Mix 33.
Okay.
Because it has its own facility. It has its own
That's
separate
fine.
kitchen and all that stuff. We want to keep food there. My biggest thing is just because of what we're doing down there as well. I mean, it's a lot of information, but I don't mind sharing it. Y'all will hear it first. Just with everything that everything that we have and we're invested in the town in itself, and with like the Buffalo Bar, we're remodeling all that stuff. We have to make a big decision as well, because in the hospitality industry right now, there's kind of a shortage of employees. So if we wanted to open up Q's again and get that going, we would need to get about 15 to 20 workers just to open up Q's. And then when we open up the Buffalo Bar, we're gonna have to get another 10 to 15 workers. So we're gonna have to get 40 people to 30 people in the hospitality industry. It's not likely gonna happen. So what we're trying to do is make best use of the properties that we're invested in and figure out the best way to use them that will, A, provide more jobs for the community, but as well move along with of what industry is moving with in this particular industry. And we have experience in it, you know what I mean? And if we didn't, I don't think we would be as successful as we have been. We've won awards for, our manufacturing stuff. Right out the beginning of when we first opened up as a retail store, we got an award for the best dispensary in the Southwest quadrant of New Mexico, and best pre-rolls this last year. We're actually doing pretty good, you know what I mean, for putting Silver City on the map within the cannabis industry and working with people within the industry that are from here, you know what I mean? Like there's High Lonesome, there's Monsoon, there was the Gila Thunder and stuff like that we've worked hand in hand with, and they're part of the success. So in all reality of what we're building with this, with making that manufacturing kitchen, it's gonna relieve a lot of people that are having to take their product everywhere else around the state to get their gummies made, to get their rosins, to get their lollipops or suckers and all that stuff. And I'm a chef, that's what I do, that's what I am. So, we want to have that because, what kind of chef would I be if we didn't have a kitchen where we could manufacture, our own style of edibles and stuff like that. I got off into a whole nother tangent, but that way it just kind of,
okay.
you know what I mean?
That fleshes it out, that's
It
good.
does.
can I ask
Yeah.
you a question?
Commissioner Mittelstadt.
This is off the.
It's
the-
okay.
I was just curious about the food truck again.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be open regularly or
It will.
special events?
Yeah,
Because I'm always looking for food.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be open, at the very minimum, 5 days a week.
Oh, nice.
And be doing stuff like that.
Dinner?
We wanna see where it goes, and
Okay.
maybe like early dinner, to where it shuts down around 7, 8, you know, again, that kind of goes into with what alcohol and gaming will allow us to do, because with my experience in food and beverage, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. And people want to have at the very least a beer or a glass of wine, whether it's in the food truck, and it just makes it more of a place and to go to, and brings in the type of business that would allow us to operate in those type of hours. Because if there's only 2 people there during dinner time, it's hard for us to justify to keep it open. But then it's one of those things that it might offset the retail space of what it is, might boost it, and then people just go there to eat regardless whether there's alcohol or not. So that's kind of the stuff that we want to see of how it plays out. But no matter what we want to do, is we want to worry about the safety of the public first and our employees, because the last thing, and that's with any of our establishments, we really don't run them as a rowdy place. You know, there's never been much of occurrences at the restaurants, or, you know, fights or stuff like that type of stuff. I just don't like that stuff. So we don't throw big rowdy things. In the beginning, when I first moved here, maybe, and when I moved back, or our family moved back, I should say, we were a little bit more having street dances and that type of stuff every other week in the summers, but we're kind of bringing it a little bit more in. But yeah, so 5 days a week, and the menu will be small, and it's going to be, you know, some stuff that's just not from around like what everybody else is doing. We're trying to really get that menu together into where it's 5 or 6 menu items, and then we run specials every day of a different food item.
Great, thanks.
Any follow-up questions, Commissioner Moody?
I don't think so.
Commissioner Bayless?
With the co-op opening right across the street, it's kind of tight there. It's kind of a convergence of a lot of streets, and you don't anticipate any issues.
No, I think that it's going to bring a lot of foot traffic, and I think that, I mean, they have a big parking space, you know, and I think that even with us not having access to that parking lot for, you know, I mean, going almost on a year now, I think that it's also kind of trained people to find other parking and parking far away and walk. And I think it's going to be kind of the same thing of where it's currently at right now, where there's the hub, there's the co-op, and then there's all the little shops around. I mean, is there going to be more traffic? Absolutely, you know, but I think that it's just going to turn into just a busy intersection in general. But I don't see it being anything with safety, you know.
Yeah.
I think that if anything, what might help out, and is even just to put a stop sign on the college thing, and making that like almost a 3-way stop instead of a 4-way stop, just so, because sometimes there is trucks that come around that Q's patio and rip around that corner, but that's about it, you know. I don't think that's been an issue, but I don't think that it's going to be any more so of what it is now, just because that's the gateway or the entryway to get into downtown, and are one of them, but it's one of the main ones. So I think it'll be okay.
Chairman, if I may.
Commissioner, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And just to provide a little information, his property is located within the Commercial Historic District, so there is no off-street parking requirements in that area.
Okay.
And Commissioner Middlestone?
This is just tangent touches on that. I wanted to say that flashing pedestrian sign that just went in on College has made a huge difference already. You know, I walk everywhere. And so more things like that. People are actually noticing me at the crosswalk for the first time ever since I've been here, and stopping and letting me cross. So those kinds of things will help with the safety of approaching this business, because that corner is troubling to get to on foot.
Troubling corner, I think.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take out the picnic tables as well, once that opens up. And I've already talked with Alex and Robert as far as putting more parking, so that whole front will be parking. So we'll technically have about 10 parking
Oh.
spaces now versus I think the 7.
4, yeah.
Well, yeah, I include the dispensary, but we'll
Yeah.
get 3 more within that space, 3 or 4 more. So it'll be about 10 or 11 spaces and doing all that stuff. So,
Commissioner Bayless, we're jumping to ask any additional questions?
I was just wondering, if you look up Silver City, there are three manufacturing facilities for cannabis. I could name them off, but it looks like with this, there'll be 4 manufacturing cannabis facilities in the city.
if there is, I don't know who,
Like, I found them on the internet. I can give you the names. Yeah, RMC, which you know of, Happy Herbs or Happy Herbs, however you want to say it, Happy Herbs.
yeah.
And then Ultra Health, they're listed as manufacturers.
They're all class 1. And the reason why the majority get that, they get those is because any leftover flour that might be from like shake at the end of like their deli things, they need permission to roll joints.
Ah, okay.
So with everything left over, they roll them and then they put them up for sale because people don't like to buy what's left.
Thanks for clarifying that.
They don't like their stuff pre-grounded for them when it's the same thing.
Thank you.
They wanted it, yes, sir.
Commissioner Middleton?
I just really appreciate the openness about the industry and how it works.
Absolutely.
It's been informative.
Yeah, well, and I think that the biggest thing of what people need to understand is that many people use it as, you know, a medicine. And that's the reason why we want to have access and we want to make it bigger, is just because there is some people that go in there that it's crowded for them. And we have top product and we work with some of the top other manufacturers and growers within the state. And I just feel like by us putting this and making it accessible and bigger, it's going to create that thing where people could go in there, not feel rushed, have a shopping experience, and get the right type of help to where we could spend a little bit more time, have a little bit more employees on the inside, and really having those one-on-one conversation versus kind of reminds me of it's like those drive-throughs, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not personable. And especially for this type of industry, I just think that the more information and the more open you are about it, you know, you're not hiding anything. I don't have anything to hide. And that's where, our family's business doesn't have anything to hide. And, you know, it's helping a lot of people. And that's the biggest thing that we like, is the fact that we know that we're offering something and working with people in the town and as well as through the state, helping people. And so we have to be transparent and open with what we're doing.
Any other questions from the commission? Any other comments or questions from community development? Hearing none. Would anyone care to make a motion? And I would remind us all that motions, regardless of how you intend to vote, are always made in the positive.
All right. So I move, I don't know the number, to approve
CU 25.
CU 20, I was looking for it again, sorry. CU 2401, is that it?
2501.
30, oh, what?
25.
2501, okay.
Okay? We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion among the commissioners?
Just food for thought, it may be parenthetical, but people have approached me about the number of dispensaries we have in our town. And I looked it up, and the state average is one dispensary per 2,008 people. In Silver City, we have one dispensary per 1,595. So we're not that far off.
That's great.
So it looks as though we're polysaturated, but we're not. I mean, it's not that bad. So, and we just approved that other one for that manufacturing up there in the old post office. So
There being little
That's good.
discussion, did anyone feel the need for an executive session for a few minutes?
No,
No.
don't think so.
Okay. Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the public hearing, correction, conditional use 25-01 as specified before, with no other additional recommendations. And this would therefore require a roll call vote.
Commissioner Moody?
Do I do pro, yes? How do
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Commissioner Bayless?
aye.
Commissioner Middlestat?
Aye.
Chairman?
The motion has passed, and the next steps is that the Community Development Director will develop a notice of decision. It is clear from our discussions that all 4 points, findings that were required were, and it was a very lucid and good discussion among the commissioners and the applicant, for which I thank you very much. Yes?
I appreciate it. If you guys ever have any questions and you guys want to stop in, be more than welcome to answer any of it. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good day.
Now, I also have to point out that there is an appeal process if anyone who spoke this evening wished to appeal or has standing, they can appeal. And there is a process by which they contact the Director of Community Development, and there are fairly rigid timelines on that. But with that, absent any other comments or questions from commissioners, the hearing is now closed. Thank you very much. 18:40. The next item is continued business, but before proceeding, if I could beg the Commission's approval, we have another gentleman from the public, and I was wondering, sir, if you wanted to do any community input.
Isn't,
No, sir, I'm here just to observe.
it's one of our fans.
Well, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. We all do. The next item on the agenda is continued business, and we have a couple of them that are action items, which is to review the groups of comments that we've worked on for the land use code and formalizing next steps. If we put those two together, unless there's any objections, I had asked everyone to think at the last meeting, would the best approach be to focus on a few specific items rather than everything? Do a good job on a few or a poor job on many. And the items that we were thinking of was an additional option when subdivisions are proposed to community development, because at present we've got more than 5 or 2, but there's a gap. So that was one item. Another item to think about was focusing on dimensional standards, which is a method of increasing density, because we obviously can't increase real estate in the town. And there were a couple of other items that, there's also 44 items that we need to correct. So I think those, a lot of them could be typographical. But did anyone have any objections to focusing on fewer groups of issues and doing a higher quality job?
No, I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good.
I think it's a good idea too. So that's where we'll go there, Madam Director. Good deal. The next time, sorry.
Did you have an opinion on this? I was just curious.
Chairman, Commissioner from Staff. I appreciate your all's work in looking at these groups and their priorities for the land use code update, and I really think that it would be beneficial to look at the subdivision requirements as well as the dimensional standards. Those are some of the things that we see the public come in and question or have certain projects that are just ever so slightly out of the regulation. So I appreciate that you all are taking the time to look into those things.
And I imagine we'll also revisit some of the entries in the conditional use table, because some of them are a little on the old side and so on and so forth. If there's nothing else on items 1 and 2, item 3, I do have some ideas. I was wondering if you did. We have this ongoing issue of should we consider term limits for the chair and the vice chair. At present, there are none. Some towns do, some towns do not. I was wondering if anyone had any more thoughts on that. I encourage a changeover from chair from time to time in order to keep fresh blood in the P&Z. So, as you know, we do our elections in January, which is when we also do the Open Meetings Act resolution. And if anyone wishes to nominate someone else for chair, that is always a good idea. The idea is fresh blood, good ideas. It is sometimes possible for a chair, me included, to get a little stale, and I just wondered if we needed to consider how we could avoid such a situation should it occur. And one thought I had in going over the bylaws is the ability for two commissioners to request a special meeting, should they so decide, for any reason whatsoever. And one of those reasons might be to, if nothing else, to discuss with the chair and the vice chair possible changes down the road. It's just a thought. I think that would be a very good way of handling issues if me, for example, beginning to be a little bit too slow or too much of a stick in the mud or something like that. So I wanted to throw that out, something for you to think about.
So what are you suggesting, that 2 members can
If-
request a meeting? Is
The
that-
reason for 2 is that it's not a quorum.
Okay.
So there's no setup for a violation of the Open Meetings Act. And if you found that, for example, I was getting a little bit too old and doddery, not responsive to any requests that you give me, or any future chair, then you could say, we need to talk about this. Well, how do you do that without violating the Open Meetings Act?
Okay.
So my suggestion would be, and I'm not trying to cut my throat or anyone else's throat in the future, to diplomatically either give the request to the current chair, which is perfectly all right, or to the community development director, because either of those 2 can officially call for a special meeting.
Okay.
And then we would have a meeting to discuss what's going on, what can the chair do better. Does there need to be some thought about that? I just want to avoid embarrassment on the January meeting and surprises and things like that.
So any 2 commissioners could ask to have a meeting about any topic that they think needs addressed.
Correct, and those 2 commissioners, or one of those 2, could either ask the chair or the community development director. And there's no harm, no foul, and we would then schedule a special meeting.
So if Commissioner Moody and I suggest that the candy machine out front be put on free vend during our meetings, we could call a meeting to have that enacted.
I
Free
don't know.
vend from the candy machine, I think that's a great idea, actually.
Well, it most certainly might be a wonderful idea. I would point out there is such an issue as a geographical jurisdiction, and that would be the county as opposed to the town.
Okay, all right.
So with those happy thoughts, the process at least is correct. But it also means if you, in wandering around the place, get feedback from people about something P&Z ought to be doing. It's the same thing. There's no harm, no foul.
So any topic
Any
that
topic
might
that's
be good to bring up.
to
Okay.
P&Z,
Okay.
So
and, yes,
I'm still not sure I'm clear. So two of us would have to get together, which we're allowed to do at any point now,
Yes.
and ask for the special meeting.
Yes.
So I would go to Jackie and say, Susan and I were speaking and we want a special meeting about this.
yes,
That's what we do.
correct, and it
Okay.
would be scheduled. The
We can't
municipal.
do that now? Can we do that now?
Oh, you can.
Okay.
The reason that I suggested it being in the bylaws is then there's no question whatsoever that you
Okay.
can do it. And what I'm trying to do is avoid embarrassment and give the
Yeah,
chair a
it's
chance
nice to
to.
strategize what we're gonna do as leadership instead of.
Yes.
It's not a antagonistic relationship.
absolutely
It's
not.
a cooperative, a collective
Yes.
trying to manage this. My only concern, and I talked just about term limits, is that it's hard enough to keep knowledgeable people in these positions. And yet I've seen what happens when people stay in the positions too long. And we are stymied by their inability to pay attention. So it's a delicate balance, and I don't know the answer.
It is a delicate balance, and I was trying to come up with a way to give the chair a chance to get back on track.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know it can happen to me, and I've seen it in 20-odd years of doing meetings. 10 in,
I mean, this is just hypothetical, but I've been here like 3 years now. Cannabis approvals, those are the ones I get reached out to. Another dispensary, and of course I never speak to them about the particulars, but people are like, why are you guys approving all these?
Yeah.
And it'd be nice maybe if we strategized public outreach or response, because my answer has been, these are viable businesses bringing valuable tax revenue to this town, and they're all appear to be doing well. I mean, we are in a capitalist society, and if they weren't doing well, they wouldn't be here. And there's a lot of empty spaces downtown, and I'd rather, I don't have any say, but I have no basis on planning and zoning. I mean, it's weird how it's been thrown back to us by the city commission. We don't know. The council, we don't, there's very little room for us to, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't want to say something that's going to be held against us in the
we
future.
might fold that into getting input from the public on specific zone change or variance change
distances,
issues.
or
For
distances.
example, we've got 7 findings for a variance.
Yeah.
Are those appropriate? And that is probably, along with the conditional use table updates, I think it might be very appropriate for us to review those findings. And I've been looking at some other towns, there's 19 that I track, to see how do other towns do it. I personally want to know what are best practices and what are worst practices, because both of them give us very good information. And this is our opportunity to improve customer service while also having more meaning to things.
Yeah, because I appear to be unresponsive, when I say, I can't speak about this particular issue with you, but I can discuss, what the conditional use permit process is and how it works.
Chairman, if I may, Commissioner Middlestat, so during the conditional use process, as you all are very familiar, there are the 4 findings that are required, and if a property does meet those 4 findings, it is an obligation of the commission to pass the conditional use process, permit. With that being said, there has been discussions amongst the commission to maybe adjust some of those requirements to allow for different points to be brought up during that process. So I think also speaking with the public, you can speak on past cases
Yeah.
because they're already
Right.
public record.
Right.
As far as current applications, if the public sees like a legal notice that That is about as far as the discussion can go, that the hearing is happening on this day, but previous applications can be discussed, and that's where there is the opportunity for a conversation of as what the requirements are and why, the commission provided an approval to this.
And people outside the 300 feet have standing. I mean, they don't have to be notified, but they can.
Chairman and Commissioner Middlestat, yes. So if they see the sign along the
They can
roadway,
come.
if they see the legal notice within the paper on Grant County Beat, if they hear about it and they know the time and the place of the meeting, which is, regularly scheduled, they are members of this community and they're more than welcome to participate in the public hearing process.
In this particular instance, I try to keep the blinders on. And so I was blindsided because they came at me about cues and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Perhaps we're straying a little bit from.
Yeah, sorry. I just meant that I just brought it up as a possible thing that we would want to talk about in these.
I agree, and we can add on to that in reports from commission.
Okay.
Those are
Thank
very
you.
good points. Next item on the agenda then, and absent any other discussion, would be any new business, which I believe there is none. The next item would be reports from staff.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to inform the committee that Mr. Randy Hernandez will now be the Business Operations Manager for the town of Silver City. So I will once again be the Acting Community Development Director. Thank you.
Randy, we just got to know you.
Next item on the agenda is reports from commission. Commissioner Middlestat.
I noticed Randy's absence and I was like, please tell me he hasn't gone somewhere else, but he has. It's okay. I'm happy for him. I don't have anything in it.
Well, continuing from some points that you had mentioned, yes, perhaps we might do a special meeting which would be training of both us and the public and offer that. And that would be, we wouldn't do role plays,
Yeah.
but it would be televised so that people can hear all these things. I get the same thing. In fact, I got assailed about a month or two ago from someone who commenting on variances that P&Z never met a variance they didn't like. And I pointed out, we even turned down a variance that the town wanted. So, but people don't know that. And I do know that even though we're not overburdened with an excessive number of members of the public, people sure as anything watch it.
Yeah, they did.
I would like to move forward with those ideas.
Speaking of that, I mean, that kind of approaching of us, somebody tagged me on one of the houses that is scheduled for demolition. Like I had any relevant input into the situation. It was like, I was like, why am I tagged here? And then I deleted that comment. I just was like, just ignore this. I don't know why. I mean, I know they were trying to get me to react, respond, weigh in, but it's, it has nothing to do with us. But there's a perception that we have these kinds of influences.
Continuing, Commissioner Bayless, any reports?
Just a coattail on what Commissioner Middlestat was saying. I did some research on this, and there's this town of Silver City, there was $9 million in cannabis sales, and that was just adult use in the last year. That's not including medicinal. So the tax revenue from that, I mean, we can make comments about public behavior, but $9 million is nothing to sneeze at. And so people might wonder, what are we up to? What are we thinking? But we're not here to, well, prohibition doesn't work. I think we know that. So $9 million, the tax generated by that is helpful to the city, and people might wonder what we think sometimes, but it's a complicated ball of wax.
Every commissioner I've spoken to along with community development, is very customer service oriented. And we're sometimes viewed as a roadblock, which is not really the case. We do have to follow the facts that we're presented only during the hearing, not outside it, fit them into the findings, and then make a decision. And as the Community Development Director pointed out, in essence, it's a right. There is some language that's rather vague in some of the findings, perhaps. Those are things that we consider to improve on. Commissioner Moody, have you any
Well, I
reports?
was just going to kind of add to some of these that I think maybe it's not clear what the commission does, what its responsibility is, that it has more power, say, than it does to, I don't know, just decide what they want to do or what we want to do, and that there are specific rules and formats and that we're working within that.
You used a word that sometimes concerns people, which is power. I would point out that there's absolutely nothing
Yeah,
that the commission does that isn't subject to review by the town council. And similarly, their public hearings are fully appealable to district court. And I'm very proud of the record, at least while I've been the commissioner, then the vice chair, then the chair, of the fact we've only had in my duration one appeal, but it wasn't based on the criterion that led up to the decision. It was a notification issue.
Yeah.
And it was remanded back to us. I'm very glad it was, because although we came up with the same answer, it was a better answer because we resolved some other issues. I would add on my report 2 things. I've done a little bit of work over the last month on something that's been worrying me for all the time I've been on the commission. And next time we get an emailed either a recommendation for a permit or an objection to it, how will we handle those? And so we will be delineating in the future more clearly that public input that isn't sworn and is not available for cross-examination is public input or comment in the hearing. It is not evidence. So you cannot, no commissioner can base their decision based on unsworn testimony. And so I wanted to get good clarification for that. And in next year's Commissioner's Handbook, there's an FAQ which sums it up very simply. So that's one of my reports. The other report is I attended a meeting in this room 2 or 3 weeks ago, which was on Firewise. And Firewise is a program that's available throughout all of the states, and it's how to make property safer. And I personally learned a lot from that. I would encourage people to get it. You can download it. There's a copy of this brochure on the county's website, and I'm hoping it will be on the town's website soon. But it's a very good document, and it describes how you can make your property safer. And one lesson I learned was, how does a house catch fire in a wildfire? And the answer is, it's not. The majority of them are not because of flames. And that was a major revelation. It's because of the embers, which can travel up to 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
And the Firewise program is relatively easy to get into. It consists of, first of all, clearing a 5-foot area around your house with no combustibles. And once you've done that, then there's 5 to 30 feet where you don't have to cut everything down, which is a fear people have. You have to be wise. And after you've done that, then there's another one up to 100 feet. And who are the experts on this? The fire department. And we have a fire department who will gladly help people understand what the risks are on their property. And so I'd encourage people, especially people who watch us this evening, if you're concerned about fire, talk to the fire department. They'll come out and tell you. I do talk to various insurance people, and I will reiterate once again, I had my insurance cancelled. I live in town. I got another insurance company to pick it up, gave me a binder, and 2 weeks later, that was cancelled. It took me 12 trees that were adjacent to the house before I could get coverage. But these conditions are not getting any easier, they're getting harder. So anyone who's watching us tonight, please consider the Firewise program. And you can look at it on YouTube, you can do a search on the internet, and there are some videos that are produced by the NFPA, the National Fire Prevention Association, that are very big eye-opener. And what happened Monday or a week ago, I believe it was, there was a fire on Boston Hill. I think it was last Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
I
over
don't know
by
which
the,
day it was, but, a few days before that, there was a fire across the street from my house that burned the car.
And where I live, there were 2 fires just north of me. This is very real.
These are the ones we know about.
Yes.
yeah, there was one by the cemetery.
There's been some in the ditch.
The ditches.
And the point is, there's no need to panic, but the best time to address your house and make it safer is before you have a fire. And I will finish my report by adding the chorus of an old vaudeville song, which is a humorous song, but the chorus is, always remember the longer you live, the sooner you bleep, 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 die. And that's true of fires. The longer we don't have one, the sooner we're going to get one. And just protect your house. And I would encourage both the Daily Press, and I did see in a recent article there was mention of it, and also the Grant County Beat, when the opportunity arises, if there's been a fire, hey, put a plug in for Firewise. Doesn't cost anything except removing tree branches that are too low, trimming up shrubs. Thank you very much for listening to my pitch. Any other comments from staff or commissioners?
I'd like to make another comment on the Firewise, if that's all right. I was at that presentation as well. And I have kind of a question, but something everybody else may know about, and there's a way to get on a list so that you get an email about fires, or you're contacted, or whatever they brought it up. I don't remember what it was exactly, but, so I don't know how that is to contact, that you're on a contact list if there's something coming your way.
Chairman Wheaton Smith, Commissioner Moody, there is a code red from the town of Silver City that you can enroll in on the
Okay.
town's website for emergency notifications, as well as, I believe, the app on the phone is called Firewatch, that you can download on your phone, and you can set up push notifications
Okay.
that would inform you of fires within a certain radius of your person.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Chairman and Commissioner Moody, I'm not sure if that's the actual name, but if you look up,
Okay.
maybe just Google, fire apps or fire watch apps, I believe it is Firewatch, but
Okay.
I'm not completely sure about that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I use one called Watch Duty.
Watch duty?
Yeah, and you can just open it and it takes your location and shows you the fires in your location. It had the Boston Hill fire and it had the fires up by you. Didn't have the one in our neighborhood, but it did have the fires. And I thought I was enrolled in that program and I did not get notified about the fire across the street nor the gas leak on our block. But I'm gonna go double check on that. 'Cause
It is dry out there, and this summer, according to the long-range forecast, is not going to get any wetter. That's the last one I saw. I do watch the weather every day. I use the aviation weather because that's what I'm used to. And one of my weather apps also tells me where the nearest fire is and where the nearest lightning strikes are. I don't think there's a need to panic, but I think there is a need for people to start
Planning.
wisely planning defensible space. Why is that important? Because if you have a fire at your house because of this, you want the fire department to be able to move around your house. And I look at a lot of houses, I think the fire department have a difficult time. So I just encourage more people to become aware of firewise. Any other additional final comments?
Yeah, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have tornadoes, but we do have fires.
We do. And coyotes and mountain lions and, in my case, centipedes, which are extremely painful.
Ooh.
With that, might I entertain a motion to adjourn?
I
So
moved.
moved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Those in favour, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. We are adjourned.